Hey there everybody, my name is Melanie Albertson, and today I'm just going to kind of show you guys some beginner, like super beginner techniques in Photoshop. So this could be helpful to any adults out there that have ever wanted to use Photoshop, have heard about it, and you're like, have no idea what to do. Or teachers out there, you know, this is a great tool to teach in the classroom to students. It covers a lot of standards, you know, for both the tech standards and art standards. So we'll just kind of dive right in. So what you see right here is just the basic home screen for Photoshop. So when you open it up and you see this little icon here is the Photoshop icon. So when we open it up, it's just kind of a blank canvas, if you will. So we want to create something new. So if you have the newest versions of Photoshop, it'll look something like this, says create new. But for some of you who have an older version, you might need to do the old-fashioned way and go to File and New. So that's just one way you can do it. There's a couple different options. So once you do that, it kind of pulls up this scary-looking screen. Now, what you see here is just a bunch of preset sizes that I've already had because I use Photoshop quite a bit. So these are just some of the tools I've used. But I want you to kind of steer your attention over here to the right side. So do you see all this scary looking things? The first one we want to look at is right here where it says width and height. What I want you to notice here is it says pixels. I mean, personally for me, I don't like to work in pixels, and when I do projects with my students in class, I always make sure that they switch it to inches. So if yours says pixels, let's go ahead and switch it to inches just for this presentation, and I'm sure you can play around later if you want. So you'll see right here the width and the height has a certain number. You can manually change these by typing them in on your keyboard, and you can pick any size you want. I generally like to just do a standard paper size, so I'll go like 8 by 10 or 8.5 by 11 even, if you will, just because that makes sense in my mind. And then, so you can see here it says orientation, so you can swap it too if you want it to be portrait or landscape. So, you know, nothing serious there. Now, some people may want to go crazy and do like 500 inches, you know, but I wouldn't suggest it. A lot of times if you overdo it, you could crash the program, or it could freeze or stall, and that's just a pain. Okay, so down here where it says the resolution, right now it's at 72. That's really the standard when you open up Photoshop. Most things are going to be at 72. The reason resolution kind of matters, especially if you want to print your projects, resolution is how clean and crisp your images can look. So, and you know, sometimes it can be really blurry if the resolution is really small. So I like to go to 300. That was something that, you know, they just kind of taught us in college. 300 is a good size. So 300 pixels per inch is what this reads. So you can see it says pixels per centimeter. It doesn't really matter. I mean, maybe it does, I don't know, but I never play with it. I just do pixels per inch. We're going to leave all this alone, how it is. I want my background to be white. So we're going to leave it like that. And then we're going to go ahead and hit create. So I know that was kind of a long drawn out process, but I promise it's not always that complicated. So, all right, here is our Photoshop now. Okay, so we have our blank piece of paper, if you will, right? Here's the size, it's 8 by 10. I'm zooming in and out right now using my keyboard function. So if you just hit on your keyboard the control key, and while holding down the control key, you press the plus or the minus, you can zoom in and out doing that. And that's pretty cool. So there's a lot of key shortcuts on your keyboard that I'll kind of go over a little bit. But all right, so here is Photoshop. There's a lot of tools and a lot of words and a lot of buttons, and I know it can look really overwhelming if you've never really seen or used it before. But we're going to break it down so it'll be easier for you, okay? So the first thing I like to do is the most basic thing. The first thing I ever learned to do was just to use my paintbrush tool. So that's what we are going to learn. So if you look on the left here, there are all these tools, okay? The paintbrush tool is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 down from the top. Now the reason I just kind of counted it out is because there's other little tools that look like paintbrushes, and I don't want you to be tricked because they're tricky. So the paintbrush tool that we want to use is right between a band-aid and a stamp. All right, so just go ahead and click that. And if you drag your mouse over, you'll see a little cursor. And just to have some fun for a second, click and drag your mouse and see what happens. Okay? And if you would like to pause the video while you play around, you could totally do that too. Alright, so here is my lovely, you could call it abstract art with my paintbrush. Alright, now I'm kind of bored with this. There's not a lot of function here. It's pretty basic. So what we're going to do is we want to adjust our paintbrush. We can adjust it in a lot of ways. We can adjust the size, the width, things like that. And what we're going to do for that is we're going to go up here to the top. So where it says like File, Edit, Image, things like that. Directly under Edit on my Photoshop, there's a little... you can see this little number here with a little drop down arrow, right? If you click that, it's going to open up this little tab, all right? And you can see that size. So right now it's at 5 pixels. PX stands for pixels. So that's pretty tiny. So if you click and drag this little white arrow, you can see that we can make it big. The highest it shows is 5,000. I do not suggest going all the way up to 5,000 unless you have a really hardcore computer, because I have experienced crashes or stalling with the program when you go that high. So that's just a word of caution anyway. I usually never go up past 2,500 here. So anyway, just go ahead and have some fun. Click it. Now, oh man, look how big my cursor is now. Woo! So it's pretty good, right? Yeah, so that's good stuff. And now it's ginormous. So you're probably thinking to yourself, okay, that gray is really boring and really ugly, right? So we want to change the color. Now there are a couple ways to change the color. Alright, there are a couple ways that we can change our color. One way is if you look over here on your right. Hopefully for the most part you guys have... you can see these colors here in the top right corner, okay? If you cannot see them, if they are hiding, they could either be blocked by these little arrows that I'm clicking, so you can expand those and bring them out. Or sometimes you're just like, I have no idea where the colors are, so a good thing you can do, and I kind of showed it there really quick, is you can go to where it says Window, scroll down to where it says Workspace, and then I like to press Reset Essentials, because that'll just kind of put everything in place and you can see your colors and la la la, it's beautiful. So you can go over here to the top right where all you see these colors, okay? And you can just kind of click and drag, woohoo! And look, you can even further it. So if you don't want a hideous brown, over here is a big rainbow and you can just click and have some fun. Yay! Let's get like a nice bright pink, because I like bright, happy colors. There we go. And you can kind of see in these squares here that my color is changing wherever I click. Okay, pretty cool. So that's one way, and then you come over. Oh my gosh, look at our pink. Wow, that is cool stuff. All right, so another way you can change your colors, though, is if you go down here to our lovely left toolbar and you go all the way to the bottom, you see that there are colors here. Woohoo, little squares. Whee! So look, there's our pink. That's the what we were using over here. There it is. So if you click it, oh, look at that gorgeous color picker that shows up, and you can drag it and have fun with it. Okay, anyway, it's kind of a more up close and personal look at your colors, if you will. So if you just, again, here's how I did that. I just simply clicked on the square here, boop, and then you can have some fun. I never mess with these buttons down here because all these numbers kind of scare me, so I just like to play around with my own eyes, and then pick a color that you like. Once you've picked that color, make sure you hit OK. And then look at that, it's working again. Whee! Now some of you may be wondering what the second square is, because you'll see that there are two squares. There is, on my screen it's saying foreground and background. I never really think about it like that. I like to think about it as one color and then a backup color. So if you hit this little arrow right here, this little like curved arrow thing, you can see that you can switch the colors on and off and on and off. So maybe I'm using blue, oh, and then I really want to go to white. And then you can just kind of switch it and go back and forth. Again, you can click the color, change the color up. Whee! All right. So good stuff. So, lovely. I think we did some good stuff. What I'm going to ask you to do now is, after you've played around with the colors a bit, we're going to go back up to our paintbrush area here. We're going to click and drag it down. And we played with size, all right, so we know how that works. Now, underneath where you see size, you'll see an area that says hardness. So that might be kind of like, what the heck does that mean? What does hardness mean? Hardness is actually, when you look at your paintbrush over here, it's how smooth and bold the colors are. So I want you to just have some fun, and we're going to click and drag hardness all the way down to 0. All right, and make your brush however big you want. I'm going to pick a color I haven't used yet, that way so it just stands out. Come on over here and look at how fuzzy and shiny it looks. So that is what hardness does. Basically, it just makes it, you know, soft and fuzzy, and it can get a nice little shiny effect if you want. You know, that's just up to preference. So if we go back to hardness, and we can play around, you know, what if you put it at 45% hardness? You know, what would that look like compared to, you know, or 85% or whatever. You know, it's just a kind of a matter of preference. And then if we zoom in, you know, you can really see the difference now between 75%, 45%, right? Back again down to 0%. Whee! Oops, I lied. There you go. There, it's nice and fuzzy. All right. So that is our paintbrush tools. So that is some cool stuff. So now what we're going to do is we're going to actually just get rid of this whole thing. Let's just exit out of it. That was just kind of our practice one. No, I don't want to save it. It's asking me, save changes to this file, and you're going to want to name it. I don't want to save this. This is just my scraps. I'm going to say no. Boop. All right. Hey, it's this screen. This looks familiar, right? So let's create another one. File, new. And you can do whatever. Oh, look at that. That's the one I just used. Hey, that's handy. I'm just going to click it and reopen it. Sounds good. Hey, all right. Okay, so now we are back to a blank canvas. And I'm going to kind of, I'm going to teach you about like the eraser tool and all that. But before I do that, I want to teach you about using different layers in Photoshop. Layers are kind of what makes Photoshop unique from, you know, traditional artwork, you know, where you just draw on a piece of paper and you have the one paper. Photoshop is kind of like, layers are like putting a bunch of pieces of paper on top of each other. I know that doesn't really make a lot of sense, but let's go over here. So on the right, bottom, okay, you see where it says background. Background. So background, I just want you to think about it as like, okay, that's the original piece of paper. That's the one that is always there. Generally speaking, you don't really want to work on your background unless that's like where you're going to sketch something or, you know, you're not really going to want to use it later. A world of hurt can happen when you work directly on the background layer. So I like to just kind of keep it plain and then just have it as a backup background, if you will. So we're going to first off the bat just go right in and add a new layer. So what that means is we're going to go all the way down to the bottom right here, okay? And there should be a couple little functions, okay? Like a folder, a little piece of paper with a corner on it, and a trash can. We want to click the little icon that has the, it's like a piece of paper with a folded thing right between the trash can and the folder. And if you hover over it, it should say create new layer. So just go ahead and click that once. And then you'll notice we have another little thing here. Okay, so we have the background layer, you can click on it, and then layer 1, you can click on it. So layer 1, I want you to just imagine you put another piece of paper on top of your first piece of paper. So what I want you to do is, again, we're just going to take our paintbrushes, and it looks like I accidentally set things to gray here. If you are accidentally experimenting gray colors, what you can do is you can go to Image, up here at the top, Mode, and you see where it says grayscale? Whoopsies, we don't want that. So we're actually going to scroll on down to RGB color. So we'll click that. Oh no, it's asking me to All right, we'll just say flatten, and oh, we'll just have to make another new layer. But hey, we know how to do that, right? So just go ahead and click that folder, and there's our new layer. Handy dandy. All right, so just for the sake of this, okay, here's my lovely art. Now, I'm going to show you guys how to use the eraser tool. I bet you'll never guess what it is. It is the tool that looks like an eraser. Oh my gosh. So here is our paintbrush tool, right? And if you go 1, 2, 3 down from our brush, we see the eraser tool. Now, it's kind of showing me all these little keyboard shortcuts. So if you totally want to memorize all these keyboard shortcuts, be my guest. Erasure is pretty easy because it's E for eraser. If you want to learn the paintbrush one, it is B for brush. So, you know, whatever. Just click on eraser. All right. So mine's showing pretty small, but if you just kind of start clicking, it's going to erase. Now, the eraser tool is pretty cool because it functions a lot like the paintbrush tool, where you can just kind of go up here, and you see these little numbers. Again, for me, it's right under the edit, right? And I'm going to click that little drop down, and look at that. We have another size and another hardness. So it's a lot like paintbrush tool, except, you know, it's erasing stuff. So you can change the size of your eraser. If you want to erase softly or hardly, hardly, you can do that. So, you know, just erase. Whee! You can just erase the whole thing if you want. All right, so looking good. And remember, here's our colors. Hello. All right. So, by now we've learned paintbrush tool, which is here. We've learned the eraser tool, which is here. Pretty easy, right? We've learned how to use colors. You can either go up to the right here and click around and have fun, or you can play with these boxes down here, right? And we've learned really, really basic layering, okay? So right now we just have the one layer. So what I want you to do is, if you just kind of gently double click on it, you can actually change the name of your layer. So I'm going to name this layer Smiley because it's smiling, right? And then just hit enter. So you'll type it in just like you would anything else and hit enter. Look at that, now my layer is labeled. A lot of people like to label their layers because down the road, if you are working on a huge project, you could end up having like 500 layers. I know that sounds extreme, but it's really easy to do. And you might be like, what's on each layer? I don't know, I don't remember. So it's kind of good to label your layers so that you may know down the road. Okay, so now I'm going to teach you another cool thing. I'm going to teach you about locking a layer, okay? This is sort of one of those things that you need to see visually as opposed to being explained what it is. So I am just going to show you. We're going to lock our layer. So if you look, here's our layer. Above it, you should see all these weird little tools, okay? And then the word lock. These are all different ways you can lock a layer. So this is lock transparent pixels, lock image pixels, lock position. There's all these little lock ones. The one I want you to choose, though, is the very first one that looks like this little checkerboard, okay? Just click that guy. And so now you can see it's kind of highlighted. So if you notice, if you click it on and off, on and off, on and off, I want you to notice that over here, down on the right side, you're going to see this little lock on and off, on and off. All right, so we see that little lock there. That means this layer is locked into place. It means we cannot add anything more to it, but we can fix what already exists on this layer. So what I want you to do is, using your paintbrush, okay, I want you to grab a new color that you haven't used that's on your screen. Okay, so here's yellow. And I want you to just start wildly painting with your paintbrush all over the place, and I want you to see what happens when a layer is locked. Okay, so I'm going to do that now. I'm just kind of scribbling all over the place. And you notice how if I'm over here trying to paint, nothing is showing up. But if I come over to the areas that I have already drawn on, I'm able to work on those. Okay, that's because the layer is locked. The pixels that I have already drawn on are locked into place now. All right. So that can come in really handy down the road. I know in my personal projects, this comes in handy. I like to do a lot of cartoons and animation-y kind of stuff, locking a layer can really help if you want to change the color of like an outline you did or a hair color. So that, I don't know, you know, you can come up with creative ways to use your lock. So that's a lock layer. And then if you unlock it, if you press it, unlock it, make the lock go away, now you can, again, color on the layer. So pretty cool stuff. So now that we've learned that, I want you guys to make another layer, all right? I know you're probably thinking like, another one? Oh my gosh, you're crazy. So I'm not crazy, I promise. Go ahead and click that little piece of paper with the folded corner. Boop, new layer. All right, we have another layer. And notice when you look at these, they have like a sort of gray checkerboard kind of look to them. That's fine. And then the background is totally white. Again, remember, I want you to think about it as like our background is the very first piece of paper, and then we are adding more paper on top of it. Okay, so these are the additional pieces of paper. All right, so now we have a sandwich thing going on. Here's our middle guy. So go to your new layer, okay? And I want you to, again, grab a color you haven't used on your screen and come on over and just start painting anywhere you want. Very lovely. What amazing art I am creating today with all of you here. All right. So again, I'm using that Control minus, Control plus to zoom in, zoom out. All right. So now you're probably thinking, oh, that's not very cool. Why did I have to make that second layer? What I want you to do now is I want you to, right next to our layer on the left side, do you see these little eyeballs? These little eyeballs. I want you to go ahead and click that eyeball. Boop! They turned it off. That's kind of like hiding our colors, right? And you can click it again to show it. And you can do that to any of the layers. You can come down here to this layer and click it on and off, and it'll show you what is on that layer. So you'll notice now the blue is not meshed with the pink. They are two separate things, all right? So that's going to be helpful down the road, you know. Say you just want to only work on one thing on one layer. You can lock that layer and then, you know, come in and just mess with it, and it won't mess with the other layers, so that's pretty nice. You can also adjust the positions of your layers, meaning my smiley layer is right in the middle of background and this new layer. Let's name this new layer. We'll just name it blue. All right. So smiley layer is in the middle of blue layer, okay, and background. So it's sandwiched in there. What if we want the blue to switch places with smiley and have blue be the middle of the sandwich? That is easily accomplished. All you have to do is take your mouse, click and hold down, and while you're holding down, you can easily just move it, and you see that blue line show up that's showing you where you're moving it to, and then let go. Okay, now that happens kind of fast, so I'm going to do it again, and I want you guys to look at my screen, see what happens when I am adjusting the positions. Okay, I'm going to click and drag blue. I'm going to drag him up now. That blue line showing up above smiley. Let go. All right, now he's in front again. Now he's behind. In front, behind. In front, behind. All right, so that is, you know, you can have fun with that because you can end up deciding what your artwork can look like depending on the position of your layers. So that can really make a big difference just on the position of your layers. So now we've explored our paintbrush tool, layering, things like that. So if you want to get rid of these layers, you think they're hideous and you want nothing to do with them, you can delete them so that you never have to look at them again. And there's a few ways to delete them. One way is you can literally click it, holding down, and drag it over here to this garbage can. Boop! Now he's gone. Or if you don't feel like doing that, you can right-click and see all this scary stuff is going to show up now. Don't worry, it's not that scary. Just go to where it says delete layer and just click that. Now we're back to the original background. Alright, so now that we understand that is just literally the basics of the basic, like basic of the basics. So what I kind of want to do now is we're just going to kind of take what we know and we're just going to make something really really simple using our techniques that we learned. So what I want to do right now is I'm going to automatically make a new layer, okay? So we're going to do that by going again down here, clicking that little folded piece of paper, new layer. What we're going to do now is simply I'm going to show you how to take a flat shape, a circle, and we're going to turn it into a 3D shape. We're going to make it look like a sphere using the techniques that we learned. So I'm going to throw in another tool while we do this just so to kind of help move that along. So I'm going to zoom in now a lot just to kind of help you guys see. So with a flat circle, it's really easy to do that. So all I want you to do really quick is just pick a color that you like. It doesn't really matter what color it is. I'm going to pick that pink again. I like pink. Okay. Then I'm going to come up here to my paintbrush. All right. I want my hardness to be all the way at 100% for this part. Okay. And then we're going to bring our paintbrush up kind of big. Ooh, that's too big. Oh my gosh, why does it keep doing that? Alright, and again, you can manually type in a size you want. So let's see. Alright, 800 is the bomb. So all I'm going to do is come over here and click once. There is my circle. Look at that. That's the best circle you ever darn seed. Alright. So now that I've put this here, I don't want to add anything else. I want to leave it alone. And all I want to do is work on just this circle. I don't want to come outside the circle at all. So what I want to do is we're going to lock our layer. So do you guys remember how to do that? You're just going to come on over here to where it says lock and hit that little checkerboard. Okay? So now we cannot color outside. See, I'm clicking all over. And I can't color anything. All right? So that's good. We want that. So the first thing we want to do when adding values to anything is we want to establish a light source. And by light source, I mean where is there light coming that is going to cast a shadow. So for this one, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to draw a cute little sun, which is right here. You know what? I can't draw that sun. Do you know why? Because I locked the layer because I'm a straight goober. So I got to come over here. I'm going to unlock the layer. Now I'm going to draw my little sun. Okay, he's a happy little guy. So he's going to show me now where the light source is coming from. I got to give him a smile. Right. So now we know that the light source is going to be coming from here. And I'll tell you what, I teach this project to my middle schoolers. Just this exact same thing that I'm about to show you. It is a great way to teach values. Values kind of fall in the visual arts standards for the state of Ohio. I'm not quite sure about national standards. You know what? They're probably in the national standards. I don't know why they wouldn't be. Values are just, it's great for any artist to learn, even if you're not a student. I think values are very important. So we're just going to play with values. Okay, so here's our sun. He's shooting light beams down here. All right? Beautiful. So let's go ahead and relock our layer now, okay? Lock. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys a couple of new tools now while we are doing this. One tool is called the eyedrop tool. The eyedrop tool is a great tool to grab a color that you need. It's not the same as just clicking over here and grabbing color. For example, I need this pink again, and if I look at my squares, I accidentally got rid of my pink. That is fine. I don't need to come over here and hunt for it and try to get the exact same pink because that would be insanity. Instead, we can just use our eyedrop tool. So the eyedrop tool is over here on the left with all these millions of tools, right? And it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 from the top. Okay, it looks like this little turkey baster guy. And you can kind of see Photoshop is showing us what it does. So if you just click that eyedropper, and now you'll notice, oh, look at that, your cursor is now the eyedrop tool, so that's pretty fun, right? I want you to just click anywhere you want with the eyedrop tool. All right, I clicked the white background, now this top square is white. I click my sun, now my top square is yellow. Black, black, again. So just click anywhere you want. You can even click in the gray areas. It's kind of funny. Oh, maybe I lied to you. I guess I lied. Anyway, so I'm going to click this pink. Boom, there's the pink that we want. There he is. Okay, so we know now where the sun is shining, and where we need the darker area of our sphere to be. Okay, so we want the darker area to be down here on the side that's farthest from the sun. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click my square, okay, and it's going to open up, our color picker. Now, unbeknownst to us at the beginning of this tutorial, we noticed here our eyedrop tool is literally showing the values for us in this color picker. Okay, it goes all the way to white, which white is the lightest any color can possibly go, and then it goes all the way down to black, which is the darkest any color could possibly go. In the middle is in the middle, right? So these are what values are. A value is the different shades of a color. It's the lightness and darkness of a color. So we're going to be adding our values. So we want to go dark, but we don't want to go all the way to black because that's going to make it like really muddy and shadowy. And a professor once told me in college to never go all the way to the dark side. So that's what we don't want. So we're just going to kind of find a darker color here. So here's like a good dark. It's almost like a purple. All right, so I want you guys to find for whatever color you chose, kind of come down a bit and pick a nice dark color. Okay, now we want to go back to our paintbrush tool. So let's go ahead and click our paintbrush tool. Oh, my paintbrush tool is really small. I'm not going to really be able to add big badonkadonk values with that. So go ahead and make it big. All right. Oh, that's a good size. Yeah, even bigger. All right, so what is also important to realize about values is we are trying to make this circle look three-dimensional, meaning I cannot just take my value and go straight across like that. That's not really how it works. I have to follow the curve of the ball here. So quick before we move on, I know I'm throwing a lot of facts at you. Another amazing keyboard shortcut is the undo shortcut. So I want to undo this line that I did. So you can do that by pressing Control and Alt and Z all at the same time. Okay? And did you see how that disappeared? So I'll do it again. Control, Alt, Z. And now it goes away. Okay? And you can even do it a bunch of times if you just press it over and over and over. So that will save you, a ton of pain down the road. All right, so as I was saying, we want to follow the curve of the shape, okay? We don't just want to draw a straight line somewhere because it's not a flat object. It's a, round object. So I'm going to follow the curve here. And it's okay if it's not perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. All right? So that's where our shadow is. Great. However, this shadow looks really heavy, and to make it more natural looking, we may want to go a softer route. So my paintbrush is on 100 because that was how we made the circle. So you can go back, and if you would like, go down to your paintbrush, take that hardness down to 0, and then draw your shadow. Now it's a little softer. However, it's not as soft as I would like it to be. Believe it or not, we can go even softer than that. The way to do that is we're actually going to kind of blend these colors, okay? We're going to mix them together using a new tool called the Mixer Brush tool. I love this tool. It's like my favorite tool in Photoshop. It kicks butt when blending. So I'm going to show you how to do it. It's kind of sneaky because it's not over here just kind of hanging out. It's actually hiding underneath the paintbrush tool. So if you go to your paintbrush tool, I don't know if any of you noticed, there's this tiny, tiny little white arrow. If you click, you can either double click it, so it doesn't always work for me, I guess not, or you can just click and hold down. Now this little bar shows up, and look at all these tools you didn't even know existed. That's crazy, right? And all the way at the bottom is our lovely Mixer Brush tool. Now you can tell the difference between regular paintbrush and Mixer paintbrush because the Mixer paintbrush has like this little water drop here. All right, so go ahead and click that. All right, so right off the bat, it doesn't really look too different. Okay, you can't really tell there's a difference. But I want you to then go up here, where the size is. So just like a paintbrush, you can adjust the size, make it big or small. And the hardness, okay? So I want to go really soft for this. So I want a really soft blend. But if you want to see what it looks like with hardness, you certainly can go to 100%. But for this one, I'm just going to go down to 0. And what you're going to do is you're going to just start clicking and moving your mouse while you click. You can even hold down and keep it held down while you move. And as you do that, if you watch me, you can kind of see now it's moving these colors around and it is blending them. So that's pretty cool. All right. So that's giving me this nice soft look. Again, if you notice, I am following the curve of the shape, okay? Because we don't want it to look flat. We want it to look 3D, okay? All right, looking really good. And again, you can pause the video if I'm going too fast. And you can certainly rewind it. I hope no one's feeling overwhelmed at all. If you do feel overwhelmed, feel free to message me with any questions that you have. So it is possible to overblend something, which we definitely don't want to do. But we do want to keep those values really apparent. So what I'm going to do, and I don't want anyone to be afraid to do this, is I'm actually going to go back to my color here, right? And I am going to move a little bit further down now in the color range, okay? So I want you to go ahead and click OK, just a little bit down. Go back to my paintbrush. And again, this area is farther from the sun. So here is farther from the sun than right here. Okay, so I wanna really expose that. I wanna really manipulate that. So here's that. Go back to our mixer brush. To me, I love this part. I think this is just really relaxing to just kind of sit and blend the colors, and you can get a nice, and then again, if you want to see what it looks like on hardness all the way up, I'll show that for you. You can see it's this weird kind of wet look. Can kind of really make it look like ooey gooey paintbrush. So if you like that, amen, you do you. But I want to keep it kind of smooth. So again, see how I'm trying to blend it with that hardness on all the way, and it's not really blending, it's really just wiping it around, just smearing it really. So I don't want to go for that right now. So I'm going to put my hardness back all the way down to 0. That is much better. Nice and smooth. We're going for a kind of a realistic look with this. Now there are plenty of art projects where you can do that smudgy look and it looks amazing, and the softness just won't cut it. But for this one, we just want to kind of keep it nice and simple, realistic looking. Okay, so you know what I'm going to do? I'm even going to further this darkness down here. We're going to go down even farther, almost to black, not quite to black, because remember what my professor said, don't go to the dark side. So again, this area is pretty far away from our sun. Ooh, I might have gone too much. Alright, that's pretty good. Alright, and then blend it again one last time. Nice and smooth. We don't have to overblend it, because that is a thing. Alright. Looking pretty good. Alright, so again, just want to imagine where that sun is, okay? Alright, looks pretty good. So now that we've gotten the shadows down, we're going to want to move up here now to the light areas where the sun is actually hitting the ball. So the first thing I want to do is I want to go back to this pink, okay? So do you remember how to grab the exact same color we want? There is the tool. We want to use the eyedrop tool. So it's right here, right? A little turkey baster thing. Click that. Drag it on over, and we want to grab the pink. Okay, so now I got my pink again. So let's click on the square and open up our little value spectrum here. Now, instead of going down this way towards black, I'm actually going to inch across the top here towards the white, because we want to go lighter. We want to pretend the light is hitting it. Okay, so I'm going to just kind of scooch a little bit towards the middle there, get this nice light pink. And again, if you click and hold down, you can get your paintbrush tool. All right, and I'm just going to add a little bit here. We don't really need to go crazy with our light. We don't want to go blinding here. So then go back to mixer brush. Just kind of blend it in, following the curves of the ball. Right? Following. And there are excellent resources on Google if you just type in like sphere shadow art reference or things like that. You can find some references to look at for this that would kind of help it. So I'm just kind of following the curve. I'm even kind of bringing it down over here a little to the middle, which is fine. Now, again, like I said, you don't need to go crazy with the light side. But I like to add one final touch, and that's just to kind of make it look really shiny, like it is an actual ball. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to my paintbrush. Okay, you're going to click and hold down, go to the brush tool. I'm going to actually go now up here, and I'm going to bring the hardness all the way down to 0. Oh, it looks like it was already on 0 because I'm a cuckoo head. Alright, so it's on 0. Lovely, we can bring it up however big we want. I'm going to go all the way to white, and all I want to do, that's a little too big I think. All I'm going to do is just kind of, here's where the light's hitting, right? I'm just going to click once, and now it looks shiny, right? Like it could be like a plastic or a rubber ball or something, okay? So that is just some of the techniques that you can use to help give form to a flat object. And hey, form is a visual art standard too, right? So you can add these values and form to a flat object. And the cool thing is now that you kind of know how to do this, you can do this with any shape. You can do a cube or a pyramid, and have some fun with it. Or you can try doing some still life drawings and drawing some still life and then adding values to them here. It's up to you, but those are just some basics of Photoshop. Those are like the really basic brush painting techniques that you can use. Obviously there's still so much more to explore in Photoshop, but I hope that kind of helped you get started, and I hope you will have fun. And if you make anything cool, I would love to see what you come up with. You can post it down below in the comments. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I'll see you soon.